Microsoft and Nintendo sitting on a tree, Crossplay. If you've been keeping up with gaming news lately, then you'll know that one of the big debacles this month has been PlayStation's refusal to yield on enabling crossplay. This story is nothing new, it is something that's been going on for a while now this generation, with PlayStation players being unable to play games like Minecraft and Rocket League with players on competing consoles like Xbox One and Switch. Meanwhile, Microsoft and Nintendo have had no reservations with enabling crossplay, and for owners of their consoles, it's been pretty great to be able to play together. Now, the reason crossplay has raised more eyebrows than usual these past few weeks is because of how Sony dealt with Fortnite, the most popular game in the world right now. It's frustrating enough that Sony refuses to yield on crossplay, but they even went as far as permanently locking down any Epic Games accounts that have logged into the PS4 version of Fortnite from being able to be accessed on consoles outside of PS4, PC, and mobile. What this means is that anyone who played Fortnite on PS4 and hoped to carry over their progress to the recently released Switch version would have no choice but to create a brand new account, lose all their progress, and start over again. What's worse is that this permanent corruption of Epic Games accounts happened without any real warning, so this all came as an unpleasant surprise to most. Since this debacle began, both Microsoft and Nintendo have been vocal about their support for crossplay. Xbox head Phil Spencer said in an interview with Giant Bomb when asked about crossplay that if something doesn't help the developers and if it doesn't help the consumer, then it doesn't feel like it helps to grow gaming. And speaking to IGN, Nintendo of America president Reggie Fils-Aimé said that while what competitors do is their decision to make, Nintendo believes being both developer-forward and fan-forward is in the best interest of games. Meanwhile, Sony has made numerous attempts to justify their iron grip on PlayStation crossplay, but their statements have hardly garnered any sympathy. A few months ago, they talked about how it's about being mindful of exposing children to external factors outside of the curated PlayStation ecosystem, which we all know is blatant bullshit. And more recently, when addressing the backlash against locking down Fortnite accounts, they provided a canned boilerplate PR statement that didn't say or address a goddamn thing. The only one who has provided a real honest answer is ex-president of Sony Online Entertainment, John Smedley, who not only encouraged people to keep up the pressure, but also flat out said that the stated internal reason was plain and simply money. Now, Microsoft and Nintendo didn't just stop at providing a few interview statements. They've actually been collaborating quite extensively to promote their support for crossplay. Take a gander at their recent social media activity, for example. Just a few days ago, on June 21st, 2018, Nintendo tweeted the following: "Hey Xbox, since we can play together in Minecraft now, did you want to build something?" Xbox then responded with, quote, "Our bodies are ready, what are we building?" Minecraft then joined the conversation with an image of a heart alongside the following message: "Well, since you two seem so lovey-dovey now, why not try building something like this? Have fun." Xbox then replied by stating achievement unlocked, ambitious crossover event. Finally, Nintendo capped things off with let the building begin. People are loving this cross-communication between the two competing platforms, as can be noted by the tens of thousands of likes and retweets. It's also abundantly clear that considering the timing of these tweets, the two companies are pretty much taunting Sony at this point, capitalizing on the backlash that's recently been directed at Sony, and people are picking up on this, posting tweets like, "I hope Sony sees this," that have garnered a few thousand likes and a couple hundred retweets on their own. Xbox has also been actively responding to fan tweets with messages like, "Two communities gaming together," adding further fuel to the fire. But it doesn't just stop there. The two companies not only partnered together on this social media campaign, they actually went as far as releasing a trailer for Minecraft titled Minecraft Crossplay Trailer. The video was officially posted on Nintendo's channel, but the very first shot of the trailer shows one player holding an Xbox controller and another player holding a Switch controller. An Xbox controller featured on an official Nintendo promo. Pretty crazy, right? The trailer eventually ends with the screen splitting into two colors, green and red, representing Xbox and Nintendo respectively, followed by the message, "Create together, explore together, survive together, better together." Okay, you've got to admit, no matter what your platform of choice may be, seeing competing consoles amicably crossing paths like this is pretty freaking cool. While a healthy dose of competition is important to keep everyone on their creative toes, it's really nice to see game companies putting their differences aside and working together to pursue a cause that's ultimately for the betterment of game developers and consumers alike for the medium that they represent. At this stage, the only major console maker who isn't willing to play nice with everyone else as far as crossplay goes is Sony, and all that's been doing lately is hurting the company's image. As I said before, I get that Sony is a business. I get that it's smart business-wise to lock PS4 players down and add caveats to playing on other consoles while Sony dominates this generation. But it doesn't make this any less anti-consumer, especially now that we're dealing with Sony basically holding Fortnite accounts and progression hostage. And yes, I know Microsoft isn't entirely innocent from stuff like this, as they did refuse to yield on crossplay during the Xbox 360 era when they were dominating in sales, but what's important right here, right now, is that the ball is in Sony's court. Right now, with a flip of a switch, Sony could bring down the final barrier to crossplay and make life a whole lot more convenient for everyone. Nobody's asking them to relinquish their exclusive first-party games, nobody's saying that they shouldn't make smart business decisions, but there's a balance that must be struck between being business-oriented and consumer-oriented, and when it comes to crossplay, the scales are heavily tilted to the former. Not to mention that the times have changed. We live in an era in which we are all more digitally interconnected than ever before, so being stingy about crossplay in this day and age is just not gonna fly like it did before. Hell, I would even argue that what they're doing isn't business smart. The more Sony keeps this up, the more players will want to play crossplay-enabled games on consoles outside of PS4, especially now that we know Sony can permanently lock down and corrupt third-party accounts and progress without notice. If anything, in the long run, Sony will drive players away from wanting to play cross-play-enabled games on PlayStation. Not to mention that as time goes by, as more cross-play-enabled games are released, people will become more and more agitated, Sony will continue to make negative headlines, and that's going to put a damper on the company's reputation, which could have significant long-term ramifications. It's also worth noting that Sony bringing down the walls on cross-play on popular third-party games won't really give the competition that much of an edge. It's not as if Sony enabling crossplay will suddenly make people flock towards Xbox One and Switch. Consumers who have been loyal to PlayStation will remain loyal as long as Sony keeps releasing a constant stream of compelling, top-notch first-party games. PlayStation 4's strong software lineup and library has been the core foundation of the platform's current success, and as long as Sony keeps doing what they do best, crossplay will have no real bearing on their current dominance. So why make all this fuss over what's basically nothing? Why let this one blemish, the crossplay debacle, tarnish their current good standing? Sony should ask themselves if restricting crossplay on PS4 is really worth all this backlash, if it's worth letting the competition leverage this situation. Remember that one time Sony took a jab at Xbox One's silly restrictions on used games by posting a video of how easy it is to lend games on PlayStation 4? Yeah, well, the tables have turned now. It's now Sony who is on the receiving end of similar taunts from the competition in light of PlayStation's crossplay restrictions. Personally speaking, I'm glad that Microsoft and Nintendo are maintaining pressure on Sony regarding this issue. I believe that crossplay across all platforms is ultimately a positive force for change for gaming, and any push towards that I'm all for. It's also nice to see that game companies can compete with each other while maintaining a level of respect and being willing to work together when the situation calls for it. It warms my gamer heart to see Xbox and Nintendo exchanging friendly quips on Twitter, or to see their respective consoles' controllers and colors featured in the same trailer. Sure, on some level this is a PR move, but it's no less a PR move than when Sony took a jab at Xbox for their bullshit used games policies. What's important is that in both cases, there was a push towards a brighter future for video games. Sony was right in calling out Xbox for their used games restrictions, pressure that ultimately led to a complete reversal, and I think Microsoft and Nintendo are right in calling out PlayStation for its crossplay restrictions, and the hope is that pressure will ultimately lead towards Sony Sony doing the right thing here. I hope that sooner rather than later we'll see Sony join in on friendly cross-company quips and exchanges, and that we'll see the DualShock and the color blue feature in crossplay trailers alongside its brethrens. How awesome would that be? These are just one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on all of this in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content and would like to support this channel directly, consider donating on Patreon. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.